Hello, everyone. Hello, Sharon.
Hello, hello. I'm
And
so excited to be here with Anne.
yes, me too. And this is beyond thrill and beyond delight for me because I know you
Oh,
have so much to share with us. And we were speaking where to start this interview, and you spoke about the experience of past life regression taking you right into this work. So maybe we can start right there.
Oh,
yes.
it was, it was a long, long time ago. This was when I was really young, and you didn't know much about, you go back 40 years, you just didn't know much about it. And I
Right.
met a woman that told me about her experience. And as soon as she talked, I thought, I have to do this. I kind of knew there was more to our life, if you know what I mean. I spent years trying to find a regressionist because look, you couldn't Google somebody 40 years ago. How do you find there weren't spiritual books in our bookstores? There wasn't spiritual magazines. So I'd look in yellow pages and that how did you find people years ago? So every so often somebody would tell me they'd been regressed. Whenever I tried to find the regressionist, they'd moved and the number didn't work. So it took a lot of years. Then there was a big event in London where an American lady come over and took a huge room full of people, and it absolutely blew me away. It was so profound that I thought I have to work with this. I've got to work with it. I had a number of experiences. She came back several times, and each time it just blew me away. I mean, I'm looking down and I'm like a 13-year-old boy in Egypt, and I've got these long arms and legs. You know, when you're sort of gangly, and I'm just kind of, and I saw myself leave my body at the age of 13, and it was it was so profound and so real. It's not like you are living it for them few minutes. You're not upset by anything that's happened, but you are kind of experiencing it, and that blew me away. And I knew I had to work with it, but couldn't find any regressionists, let alone training. So I went off and trained in clinical hypnotherapy and started writing my own scripts and started. I had a bank of clients because I already worked with tarot, and I just dived in and I just one of the things I've said is every experience is different. You can't, when you're training people, you teach people, you can't say to them this lap because everyone is so profound and so different. So I worked with past life regression for many years, and yeah, then one day some military people came to me and they said, look, we need to find out something that happened in the past. You work with regression. So I took them back. They couldn't quite get to it, but they kept having a feeling they'd known me in the past. So I brought somebody else in to take all of us back to the past to find out what they needed to know. And what happened was all of us jumped forward and saw the attack on the Twin Towers. This was 3 weeks before it happened. We didn't understand that we jumped forward. We just thought, well, that was rubbish. We didn't do very well. We didn't see the past. We didn't understand what we'd seen because the world had never seen anything like it before. So a few weeks later, when it happened, that the military guys called me up and said, look, turn on the TV, put on the computer, put on the news. It's happening. And I put it on, and we were just so shocked. I think part of the shock was we didn't know enough to stop it. We didn't understand what we were seeing. But then we started to every so often get together and say, I wonder if we can do this again. And then we started to regularly predict world events. It's like I'd take the military people are really good to work with because they can focus like anything. They really concentrate. So they said, oh, there's we are going to invade Iraq. And I went, who? He said, America, England, we're going to invade it. And at the time, it sounded ludicrous. We laughed. It's that we continually kept predicting world events. Then I started taking clients forward. And the bit that really interests me, and you'll get this because of the work you do, by your next lifetime, you've evolved. What have you evolved into? What message is there for your future self? That absolutely blew me away. So I started to work more and more. I started taking clients forward. They were getting direction. They were kind of finding what they evolve into, started to feel it, started to be aware of it. But another thing that started, I still, with the past, what initially interested me, all the usual interesting thing. Oh, I wonder where I lived before, and what was I this, was I that? But after now, it's about eating disorders. I'm finding so many eating disorders because you think of it, how many people back in the day, go back several hundred years, were hungry. They couldn't pop to the supermarket. They didn't have fresh water coming out. So I think a lot of weight issues are people just thinking, I better eat because I don't know where my next meal's coming from. I think I've worked with a lot of people with anorexia or emotional eating or can't stop eating, and the amount of times we've traced it to a past life. Even with myself, I had an eating disorder, and I went to a big group. Sorry, I'm talking 100 miles an hour, but
No,
I
it's
find
great. Exciting.
It's just such an amazing subject. I'm so glad you worked with it. It's such an amazing subject. But we went to this big event, and what the person on the stage said was, I'm going to, you think you've sat where you've sat by chance, but you haven't. You're sitting opposite somebody you shared a past life with, but you've never met them before. Mind-blowing concept. And it was weird because she got us all to face the person we were partnered with. And it was weird because we were like the same but opposite. And how I put that, the girl facing me, same height, same colouring, only she was absolutely huge. She needed 2 seats to sit on, and I was anorexic. So I'm like this thing. It was like we were the same but opposite. And my best friend was there. She's got dark hair. She's very glam. She's like hour in makeup to pop out to the shop. She's very glam, fair skin, freckles. The girl opposite was exactly the same, only dressed like a grandmother, very stern. And my friends all bubbly and funny. So it was like the same but opposite. And it was weird. So she took us back. Me and this girl both saw ourselves in India. And she said, I got everything, you got nothing. And my father gave me all the best food, and you went hungry. But the weird thing is, my father in this lifetime had mental health problems from the war. He had terrible mental health problems, and he used to get upset when we ate. And that led to me being anorexic. I mean, it wasn't his fault. He had mental health problems. But he would say, you're eating my food. They were so poor when he was young. They get paranoid every time me and my brother ate. So in the end, we stopped eating. I just didn't eat. So you could really see that pattern had repeated into my current lifetime. So there's part of me that loves the past life. There's part of me that loves the future life. And I think one of the things I work with is past, present, future. What is that soul journey? What has happened in a past life that is, you guys have worked with people, and you just go, how many lifetimes have you lived with that? Let's get rid of it now. So looking at the past, present, future, you can see people carrying it on even into their next lifetime, the lifetime after. And it can be something that tortures them, but it can also be an amazing talent. Sometimes I'm working with somebody, and I'll say, what talent did you have in the past life? What is your talent in a future lifetime? How can we get that really incorporated into your life right now? So I'm really talking fast.
That's great. I have so many questions. Mira, you probably do, so you go.
Please dive right in. Please, yes.
One thing that you reminded me is about when you were saying about the military, that you saw what's coming, but you didn't know how to interpret it. I have a friend she was living in Dubai. She's from India. She was living in Dubai, and her husband wanted to go back to India. And she asked me, what does it look like? And I said to her, don't go. That was pre-COVID. I said, don't go to India. There's something coming from China that's going to be all over the world. I don't know what it is exactly. I didn't know. And I wasn't even aware. I didn't remember that. She reminded me, she said that most of the village in India passed away. And she says, you saved me, and you saved my family and everybody.
Wow.
So my question is, how did you come to know that what it is that you're seeing in the future? Is there a way for you to tell did you hone in on that, exactly what it is when you work with the military people? If you see,
Well, it's similar to past life regression. I mean, I take people through a process as you do. You've got an
right,
actual technique and a process you use. I use the same to look at the future. With that, we did it spontaneously. We'd actually gone through a process. And it was somebody I'd trained in past life who I brought them in to take us back to look at this past event the military needed to know about. We jump forward, but as a normal thing, it's kind of just the flip side of past life regression. I just take them on a mind travel journey into the future to wherever they need to go, whatever they need to see. Sometimes you do it spontaneously, as you did. But you know, you're working with this field. You're used to slipping around in time. I mean, you are going to glimpse, even if you're heavily working with past life, you're going to glimpse the future. You just are. Your mind is ready to travel.
As this group continued to work together, as you guys were continuing to get together, do you feel that you were able to hone in and understand and see and experience better? Because I'm wondering if practicing something over time allows for you to trust yourself more, information to come through stronger.
Yeah. I think anything spiritual, it gets stronger as you do it. I mean, you know, you mentioned COVID. Now, I all of us seem to get a bit of it, but not actually know the whole story. But I just said, I'm not traveling next year. I know I usually travel a fair bit. I just knew I wasn't. And one of my clients that's like does a lot on stage, and I said, he said, I'm starting a new big play in the West End. I went, not going to happen. He said, I'll get delayed a couple of weeks. No, this is months and months and months. And we didn't know why exactly. We just knew there was something. Although in one of my books, I know I put, and I've said it in interviews, going back quite a few years, I saw something yellow or orange coming out of China and floating across the water. And I said, is it? I felt it was toxic, and I felt it was deliberate. That was just my impression at the time. But I thought it was further in the future, because time is a funny old thing. I thought it was further in the future at the time. But yeah, you obviously, I think because it's somebody you knew, your protective side, that healer side to you, would pick up and sense almost danger for her. So you're picking up, the information's out, then you picked it up to save her.
Yeah, right. Wow. And I think it helps to, well, I don't do past lives, I see them. Mira is, I send everybody to Mira. She does the past life regression. But I was going to say that I find that the more questions I ask, the more information I can work with, you know, and that's something that I've learned, because at the beginning I used to, again, referring to what you were saying just now, at the beginning I would see something, I'll just blur it out, you know, but now I keep asking questions so I could get a bigger picture. So I'm just saying that for whoever is listening to us, so they can, you know, so they have an idea of how to get to more information, is to ask more questions.
That's exactly it. The more questions you ask, and that you get better at asking the questions. It's like people start out, they have their script and the key points, but after a while you get instinctive. You start to, your intuition kicks in, and you think, oh, I've got a feeling, and you ask the key questions. And you know, when you work with this a lot, you'll just know what to ask to get that amazing story, because it is such incredible stories come out of past life that you must have had it, but I've had people come to me and they go, I don't even really believe in this, but I don't know where else to go. I've tried everything. And I go, don't worry about whether you believe it or not. Just let your mind free flow. Just let it free flow. And at the end, they just go, that was real. That's not my imagination. That is so, so real. And it's funny how sometimes something happens a week or two later that gives you like confirmation. I mentioned that Egyptian when I was a boy, and I felt myself, I saw myself get stabbed in the stomach. And I've often said to people sort of go, it's just like watching a movie. You don't feel upset. You're just kind of aware of it as opposed to reliving it. And it was ages later, I think it was about a year later, a psychic said to me, have you got a scar in your stomach? So I've got a really bad scar for an operation. She said, yeah, you recreated that you got stabbed there in a past life. And I went, yeah, how did I not make the
Ding,
connection?
ding, ding. Yes. Wow, I know. And often I hear that, sorry, go ahead, Mira. I don't want to interrupt you.
Please, yes.
Often I hear and I see that we have some sort of even a birthmark or scar or something to that place, you know, that we've been hurt in a past life to kind of bring it forth. Yeah.
So many health issues. So many people have problems with their throat, with their thyroid, and we trace it back to being hung or breaking their neck in a past life. So so many health. As I said that, my throat went.
Yeah, I heard that.
I felt my throat go there. It's so interesting how many health issues and people that have an unexplained pain, and you take them back and the pain goes. You know, once you know what it is, you release it. You obviously got techniques to release. You let that old energy go. Right. It's amazing. Sometimes people spent years seeing doctors, one session.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask you about next, is about healing cancer and stuff like that. So it's doable, right? I know it is, but I'm just asking you your experience with it.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I try and work complementary as opposed to alternative, just because otherwise, because where it's down to the person you're working with. I've had clients that, I'll give you one example. A lady, she had bone marrow cancer, and the doctor said, that's it, you'll only live months. You're to come into the surgery tomorrow morning. She went, I can't, I'm busy. He said, you come in. She went, well, your Dr. Doom and Gloom, I don't know. Anyway, 10 years later, she still is. She just refuses to take it on board. So I think with past life regression, a lot depends on the person's mindset. And if they really want to clear that from a past life, if they really just want to release it, I've seen so many amazing things over the years where people have released all sorts of illnesses, including cancer. But if there's a bit in their mind thinking, yeah, but I can't really do that, that's going to create that battle. So I always tell them, you still see your doctor, you monitor what you're doing, and I work with them. I think, especially in England, we have to, because we have to cover ourselves. But I've seen so many miraculous turnarounds using past life. So many miraculous turnarounds. Just because I think it is just, do you need this in your current lifetime? And they say no, or let's just get rid of it. We don't need it. It's not serving any purpose. For whatever reason, you brought something from past life, you don't need it now. And that's when it's magical. The minute they go, no, I don't need it for anything, that's it. Something shifts and it goes. So I have seen miraculous turnarounds, miraculous.
I wonder if the opposite is true in terms of if people see a version of the future, how that helps them walk towards it. I wonder if that empowers them.
Yeah, absolutely. But a lot of the work I do is taking people beyond their current limitations. So we limit ourselves. That's why people talk about manifesting, but very few people manifest big things. They'll always tell you, oh, I manifested a pair of red shoes, or I paid for the electricity bill, or replaced the old car with another old car. Very few people come up with a castle and $5 million, do they? And that's because it can only go beyond our consciousness so far. We are so surrounded by negativity and can't do this and won't do that, and this to battle against all that on a daily basis. So I pick people up and I take them forward into a different timeline where they've gone way beyond, where they're being all they can be. I sometimes change the past as well. That's a real interesting one to work with. You take somebody and go, yeah, but if you hadn't had all that crap and bosses that have treated you badly and negative parents, let's create a different past, because it's just the mind's concept of the past. And just taking out some of them old memories and going, the time you pulled off that big success, and build some really confidence, integrate it into now, then take them forward, you see a massive shift. So yeah, playing around with time and creating a different past, or zooming off into the future, it all creates a massive shift right now.
I really
Yeah.
love this. Yeah, this is really magnificent.
Yeah, I also find that it's really helpful to go, even if there is something going on that is not healed, or it's a story that they cannot release. I either go to a past life when they passed, if it's the same kind of problem, or ahead of, like you're doing, ahead and having them turn around and see what is it that they regret not doing or doing, and then helping them go into a new timeline where they shift that. So I think that's very helpful. I agree with you.
It really is nice when you can take people for the other one. So if you're talking about serious illness, go forward 5 years to a future where you are completely free of this. How did you shift that? How do you feel? Really get them to feel what it feels like to be free of it. What did you do? And they often go, I took such and such a remedy. I saw that type of doctor. I had that kind of physician. That they find the answer in the future. And they by feeling what it feels like to not have it, that can create a massive shift. So yeah, love it. It's so exciting, isn't it? It's sort of swimming about in the ether of time. It's just so
I love
fabulous.
time. I love playing with time all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Yes, it's exciting.
None of us really understand how it works. I mean, greatest living minds, greatest quantum physicists all say, we know it's not linear, but we don't know how it works. We don't know how it works, but
I don't feel
they've
like
said things like, sorry,
I interrupted you. I don't feel like we need to know. We could just use it without knowing.
Do you know what? I think you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter. All we need to know is that we can slip around in time. And the remote viewers have proven this. They've said it's just as easy to tap into the past and the future as it is to go and view something so on the other side of the world. And their techniques have been proven over and over. I mean, that their rate of success is 100%. If you're looking at people like Joe McMoneagle, hugely successful under strict scientific conditions, and the remote viewers say we can see the past. That's why the military come to me, because they knew that people like us can go and see where that aircraft went down, or where this gold's hidden, or whatever it is they want to find out, where the secret box is. They know we can get to that information.
Because you're talking about remote viewing, I wonder if you use remote viewing techniques when you take people in the future. It just occurred to me as a question. Yeah.
But I trained in remote viewing, and it's really fascinating. I was trained by a guy just a bit. It was the weirdest things, because me and the soldiers started to experiment a lot. We were hearing about remote viewing, and at the time, the only training was in Hawaii, Australia, and a couple of parts of America. There's none out our way. And about a week later, an envelope was delivered to my house with remote viewing leaflet, and it was some little place in London. So there's me and these great big soldiers all kind of went off there and trained. But it's quite different. It is, you have to answer within 2 seconds. You can't, whereas with what we do, we kind of go into that state where we're letting the information flow. They bang, I'm giving you the code. Your code is C67. Right, where is it? What are we looking at? Da, da, da. And they fire, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it inside? Is it outside? You have to answer these questions. It's kind of working in quite a different way. It's not using that dream state that we use. So it was really, really interesting. I didn't work with it because I was scared that if I started to work that way, my intuition wouldn't flow. I've spent so many years working intuitively.
Yeah,
I don't want to look. I was a bit nervous I might lose it if I started working, but the military guys still work with it. And do you know, big companies use remote viewers these days?
that's so interesting, because I use remote viewing all the time, but I do it in my way. I wasn't trained. It's just natural, you know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what you were saying. I didn't know that they're trained a different way.
Yeah, it's interesting because you did it spontaneously, and sometimes funny thing is I had an experience to do with Dubai, and it was really funny. My friend was living out there, and back then you didn't get an address. You're going back, 25, 30 years, you didn't get an address. It was find that shop, go behind there, walk up the
Yeah.
road, and it was kind of more of a description. And I'd been and stayed at her place, and I kind of just suddenly went into this altered state quite spontaneously. And I was looking at her house, and it was slightly getting dark, and I thought, yeah, it would be getting dark there now. So I sent her a message and said, look, I've just been looking at your house in Dubai, and I've got no idea. She said, it's so rare to have crime out there, but our house was robbed at that time. So it's that thing, like with your friend, there's times we suddenly go somewhere with our mind and see things, and there's a reason. There's always a reason.
Right. I do find that people that are close to me, if there's anything going on, I get a message,
Yeah.
They pop into my mind, or and I see something. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the areas that fascinates me with past lives is, who do we know now that we known in the past life? And that can really explain why you're overprotective to one child. Why sister-in-law, as soon as she walks in the room, you think, oh no, I don't want to be around you. That soul group thing I find really mind-blowing. What were the dynamics of those relationships in that group in a past life?
Yeah, fascinating.
Really interesting. Really interesting. I'm so glad it's better known now. As I say, back when I was fascinated, it was hard to find anyone, and people are more aware. I still don't think there's enough regressionists. I just don't. I just see it changing so much for people. I just think we need more people. We need to clear our past. We need to not carry things on. We need to not be carrying things on into the future. To make the world a better place, we really need to let go of so much war and trauma and starvation and famine. Our ancestors didn't have it easy. They just didn't, wherever they were in the world. Doesn't matter where. I work with people in all over the world, wherever they are. They had some big battles and struggles, and to be able to leave that, I think would make the world so much a better place.
Most definitely. Talking about the future, have you discovered people going to different versions of the future, or is there only, linear progression, one set future? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I take people to different versions. I think it can be really useful, especially with people who hold themselves back. And you can go, you take them forward, say 10 years, and you just say, what do you wish you'd have done differently? Oh, I wish I'd have studied that subject. Okay, let's go look at a future 10 years time, but you studied that subject. And they go, oh my God, my work's so much better. So yeah, you take them to different versions. It can even be, if I stay in this marriage, if I leave, it's like we've all seen people in relationships that are really not good for them, and they're still there 10, 20 years later, and they've lost the confidence to move on or move beyond. And I had one lady just say, oh, I'm so happy I'm away from my awful husband, I'm now with the nice man in the gym. And she was really, when she first arrived, I worked from an office, the receptionist never ever commented, and she actually said on the phone, oh, you're gonna have fun with this lady, she's so rude, she's so bad-tempered. She just walked in being rude to everyone, snappy. She walked out, and they just said, what have you done with her? I went, she saw herself in the future away from the husband that ill treats her. That's why she was so rude to everybody. Changed that. It was lovely. But yeah, different versions. I really like working with career. The thing is, I use this to coach people, and I'm running a coaching program at the moment, because whatever you do, it's going to change. That's how my last book started. Whatever you do, I don't care what you do for a living, it is going to change. The world is changing so fast. We need to be anticipating the future. Most people will get left behind. We have to be anticipating the way our industry is going and how we can best serve the world, but also serve ourselves. What do we need to know in order to thrive in the future? And so I walked into big companies. I've taken huge sales teams. What's the big product in the future? Because what you've got now will probably be obsolete. That how can you work together better as a team? How can you yourself progress your career and be all you can be? Because I look at people and I just think there's more to you. There's so much more to you. And I want to get to it. I want to find them a future where they're really living up to their full potential. All things, the lack of self-belief or whatever's in the way, I love to get beyond that and really find that amazing future.
I love that. That's such a great way of looking at things, especially, well, for individuals, but also for companies. That's amazing.
Yeah, big companies are starting to really call us up now. That's why my last book was more of a business book. It's about the future of work. Although I use spiritual techniques, it was more of a business book. And it was quite interesting how some big names really backed me up as well. I just happened to have a number of clients that are very successful, and they seem to always be one step ahead. They always seem to be looking to the future. So I interviewed a number of people because I just thought they seem to be that future thinking. And so I want to know why they're always that step ahead. They're always being innovative. They anticipate. They're very good at anticipating the changing trends. And a lot of them were American or Brits in America. It seems to be America is very good at being innovative and open. Europe is old. I mean, I don't see England as being part of Europe. So Europe is old, England's old, and Americans are much more open to being innovative, though the industry is going to change. And it is. Just look at music. Before you go off to a record store, that changed overnight. That changed. Whole industries changed dramatically. Netflix, how it changed. We used to have to go up the road and hire a little videotape to watch a film years ago, or only run off to the loo or make a cup of tea in the adverts because you couldn't pause. I mean, look how the world's changed in a couple of decades. If you think of the whole scheme of things all the time, the last 20, 30 years, the internet has transformed our entire lives. So more's to come. We're only at the very beginning of a massive amount of change. So I love taking people forward. They can tap into their future self, that powerful future self.
I'm totally with you that everything is very dramatically moving and changing. And I wonder if there's been a trend emerging. I would love to hear what your clients have been speaking about, the global future, or the future of the economy. I don't know, anything that you can share that has been emerging as a thread throughout the sessions of people talking about their futures.
Yeah, when I first started working with this, which was quite some time ago, I kept saying, I don't understand. When I take people into their next lifetime and I talk about money, they don't understand. There is no money. Now we can see it, money going digital, but back then it didn't make any sense. We're just going, how can there be no money in the future? And I felt a little bit unsettled by it, but I knew that was one of the major trends. What will happen is your life will be on a computer. It'll be more numbers on a computer that will go up and down. We won't have money. 10 years time, it's very unlikely we'll have money. Usual things, receiving a letter through the post, all them things they'll probably be gone in 10 years. And it's whether you think that's a good thing or not. When I started looking at, say, 50 or 100 years time, people seemed a bit more chilled. They seemed a bit more relaxed. The other thing that really I couldn't work out, I'd ask them about where's your family from? Because I'm more because England's we've been invaded, and we've invaded everywhere, and people have invaded us, and we're real mongrel nations, so we're always interested. Where's your family from? What's your heritage? We are particularly fascinated. In the future, nobody wanted to answer. It was almost like it was a taboo subject. And I thought maybe that's nice. I kept thinking maybe that's nice because we all become one world and we blend together. But now I'm sort of looking and thinking, I don't know, people seem too passive and they've lost their identity. So that I'm kind of starting to get a little bit, yeah, I'm not sure if that is good. Don't lose your identity, because when you lose your identity, you lose your power, you lose your strength, you lose who you are, part of who you are. People are strong by their identity, yeah, you know, their heritage. And so that started to kind of, so I've kind of got mixed feelings about the future. So what I want to start doing is looking to see how we can create a much more powerful future, a better future. I have got on my website, the world in 50 years time. So people go through a process, economy, the environment, everything, the well-being of the people. Then exactly what you were saying, let's go and find the best possible future for the world in 50 years, the best possible future. How do we make that happen? Because I feel like we, rather than sort of, oh, look, I don't like the look of this, or, you know, climate change, all the things, you know, the media love to worry us with. How do we create a better future? I just think we got to look at it in that way. So that's been amazing to work with. And I did a survey, it was quite a few years ago, where the response was fantastic. People from all over the world wrote down their findings, listened to the meditation, and you really started to get that feeling, oh yeah, we're not just passive. The world isn't just going to burn or go bankrupt. We can do very real things. And a lot of it was about having the right people in positions of power, that politics will start to attract a different type of person. If you take away all the bonuses, the private jet, all the money, you know, the flash stuff, and just put them in the economy, hotel, flying economy, and take away all the benefits, it'll attract a different type. I very much saw this when I was working in Japan. I was teaching out in Japan, and I did some big groups, and then they'd write down their findings, and large groups would all see the same thing. And it was younger politicians, but not the woke. It's not the woke that we have today. It's almost as if as a process some young people are going through being woke. This is more young people that are quite strong characters, quite ambitious. You know, they're not oversensitive or confused. They're strong little characters. And I'm starting to see them emerge. I'm starting to see some really young people. You can spot them. They're immaculately dressed. They really concentrate. They really focus. They're super intelligent. And I can see some of them going into politics, and they really don't care about all the, do I get a big TV? Do I get a lot of money? It's not ego to them. They kind of almost stepped out the ego, and they see what needs to be done. Now, I think there's going to be some amazing young people up and coming that will really create a better world.
That is very encouraging. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
And I know that I personally am going to look into that recording to guide me through 50 years into the future. So I'm going to share the link with others to do the same. I wonder if there's anything you can give us as a message, as anything you want to share in conclusion. This has been riveting, and honestly, I'm thrilled to work with your information to explore more into the future.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of things, but I think the main message I've got for people is, as you are now, there's so much more to you. You just got to kind of step out the emotion, the negativity, and just feel it inside you that you can shape an amazing life. When you shape an amazing life for you, you bring others up. It really is like being on the aeroplane. You put on the oxygen mask first, get yourself into an amazing position, then bring up other people. And if everybody does that, imagine the ripple effect. Just you following your best, leading a good life, leading a healthy life, encouraging others, getting rid of all the worry and stress and just believing in yourself, you just start to walk firmly forward. Other people start to go, whoa, you don't have to make a noise. You just quietly move forward confidently. Other people, they will see you and they will join you. I think that's all we need to do. So I love just making these little changes with people. So yeah, the world in 50 years time, what part do you play in making the best possible future? Let's get more people to look and see.
Yeah, I love that. That's incredible. And we will put the link and, you know, all the information to your books as well. It's been such a pleasure. I could sit here and interview you and talk to you forever. There's so
bless
much
you. Well, I'll probably be back then. So that
yes, definitely. Thank you so very much. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you so much. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.
Yes. Bye.